Hello, welcome to Miss Lusky's first screencast. There's two items I think you should have today if you have a printer, and that would be the notes packet that looks like this. It's pages 5 and 6, and it follows along with today's notes, which are mostly images. The other item would be the study guide. We're going to be working on numbers about 11 to 23. If you have a printer, great, pause and get these items ready. And if you don't, no big deal. You can still follow along. The first thing we're going to talk about today is calories. We have lots of measurements. We measure distance, we measure time, and the measurement for energy is basically kilocalories, which we just call calories. We use it to measure the energy that's in our food, but also the energy that we expend when we exercise. When it comes to our food, we derive energy from carbs, protein, and fat. We do not receive energy from vitamins, minerals, or water, and those are our 6 essential nutrients that we learned last week. You are using calories 24 hours a day. Even when you're sleeping, your body needs energy to keep its systems alive and working. When it comes to burning calories, the more intense a workout, the more calories you're going to burn, which is pretty much common sense. So if you were to run for 10 minutes, you're going to use more energy than if you were going to walk for 10 minutes. We all have different calorie needs, and that has to do with our age, our gender, activity level, and even our general size and body composition. So a 15-year-old growing teenage boy is going to need a lot more energy than an 80-year-old woman. In general, the range for 15-year-old males is about 2,200 to 3,000 calories a day. So on the 3,000 side, you're looking at a person who might be more muscular, maybe more physically active, involved in an organized sports team, and even taller. Versus on the 2,200 calorie side, that might be a person whose activity level is lower. Maybe they're out of season or don't participate in activities, or maybe they're a shorter individual. Here's what the old food label looks like, and you'll notice that they put the calories on top and calories from fat, which has been removed on the new label. All calories, all of these daily values that you see over here, that is based on a 2,000 calorie diet, but you can see that some people are allowed to go over 100% for the day based on their individual caloric needs. Last week we covered food labels. Here's the original label next to the new label. A couple quick things to point out. They have removed the calories from fat. Fat got a bad reputation, and it's very misleading to a lot of Americans. There's actually healthy fats that we should have in our diet. We want to keep our saturated fats low, but there are other fats that are healthy for us. They also have added sugars. So there's natural sugars, and then there's a whole bunch of things that are added to our foods, and that was left off of the last label, which is very misleading to Americans. They've also changed some of the nutrients down here. Most Americans don't have a lot of issues with things like vitamin A and being deficient in it, so they removed it. Let's look at a grocery store layout. I found this image and I thought it was pretty amazing. Most grocery stores have a similar design to this, where you come in the door, you have your produce, your dairy and your meats and stuff like that are in the back, etc. You'll notice in the center of most grocery stores is where we find our processed foods. So they always say to shop the perimeter, and that's how you can get most of your nutrients and food groups. In the center is where you're going to find a lot of your processed foods with additives and sugar and extra salt and preservatives that do increase the shelf life and improve taste, but they're not very good for us. A recommendation when you look at your food plate is to make sure that it's colorful. Colorful foods tend to be high in nutrients, especially vitamins and minerals, and low in fat, calories, and additives. Food without labels that we sometimes call whole foods tend to be better for us. Although this woman is looking pretty happy, this is not what we consider to be a whole food. You want to also consider where your food comes from. So organic, locally grown foods without pesticides are going to be a lot healthier for you. Even having your own garden is an excellent idea versus foods that come from a factory and that are processed, like the one in this picture. All right, next let's talk about eating out. You have lots of options, whether you're going for fast food or restaurant eating, to choose healthier options. A big recommendation is to look at your portion sizes and order mediums instead of a large. Consider your sides. Maybe you go for fries instead of apples. A lot of places do have healthier sides. They're maybe just not visually seen on the menu. When ordering drinks, don't always go for a pop. Maybe go for a water or a milk once in a while. Splitting meals with friends is another great tip to help you save on eating too many calories and huge portion sizes. I'm not trying to rip on McDonald's, but they have a great website that can break down calories and nutrients for you. So a large fry, large Coke, and a double cheeseburger is roughly 1,200 calories. And if you're on a 2,000 calorie diet, that's a big chunk of your calories for the day. Even if you're on a 2,500 calorie diet, you're looking at half of your meal or half of your calories for the day coming from this one meal. If you were to change the portions of this meal down to a medium fry, a water, and a single cheeseburger, you're looking at only about 630 calories. Calories are not the only thing to consider. You also want to consider the other the nutrients that are in the foods that we're eating. It's not just the calories. Calories themselves are not bad. If you look at a Jimmy John's Turkey Tom, it's roughly 500 calories. If you added a regular chip, water, 5 pickle spears, and 5 celery stalks, you're looking at half of that original meal from McDonald's. So eating out can be healthy, just depending on where you go, what you eat, and the portion. Okay, superfoods. Superfoods are high in nutrients and antioxidants and low in calories. So this is just one of many lists of superfoods. These are foods you want to add to your diet if they're not already there, and maybe even substitute. So you're going to see sweet potatoes on here, which are way healthier for you than a regular potato. You'll see things like tea, leafy greens, blueberries, avocados. They recommend if you're going to eat an avocado to only eat half, because it is, although it's high in healthy fats, it is also high in calories if you eat too much of it. Here's other images of superfoods. My least favorite. It looks like Brussels sprouts. Ooh. Okay, another thing is just back to portion sizes. You're going to hear that term a lot. What we're being served at most restaurants is way bigger than what's considered to be one serving. At home, maybe use a smaller plate when you're dishing yourself some food. Usually your plates will come in 2 sizes, like this one, and then there's the smaller one. At my house, we have the smaller plates that are readily accessible. Portion sizes have grown over the years. Talk to your grandparents about what was offered back in the day versus what is offered now, and you'll see there's been a dramatic increase in the size of what we're offered when we eat fast food. Okay, empty calories. This is defined as foods that are high in calories but low in essential nutrients, and it's all the goodies, the things that are super high in sugar and don't have a lot of vitamins, minerals, and water. So Coke is just an easy example. Look at this. This is the new label. You're going to see the added sugars. Okay, that's an astronomical amount of sugar for just one can of Coke. Back to watching your sugar. A lot of the breakfast foods that we eat are super high in sugar and should be considered to be desserts. So look at these side-by-side comparisons. There's a lot of hidden sugars in yogurts. Okay, so we should only be having, 6 teaspoons of sugar for women a day and 9 for men. Food guides, you're going to recognize the 2011 one. Some of you might remember the old pyramid as well. These are just different food guides. When I was little, I can remember the ones down here. And it's just an easy guide for us to know how we should be arranging our plates. So the USDA current food guide is nice and easy to understand. You can see that half of your plate should be fruits and veggies, and then proteins and grains. And you can see that you should have a little less protein and a little less of fruit because it's acidic, and a little bit heavier on the whole grains and vegetables. Dairy doesn't have to always be in the form of a drink. My favorite food guide is the Harvard Healthy Eating Guide because it separates our protein sources and our grains into how we should properly be eating. So, for example, you're going to see whole grains at most meals and on a heavier portion of the pyramid, where our white rice, white bread, white pasta, potatoes, soda, and sweets are definitely in the use sparingly zone. Red meats and butter are once in a while foods, where you're going to see protein sources such as fish, nuts, eggs, poultry. Those can be eaten in more abundance than what you're seeing up here with our red meat. You'll notice vegetables are in abundance, but fruits, once again, are not a substitute for vegetables, and just having those about 2 to 3 times a day. Here's also where we're going to get some of our healthier fats. So you'll see butter up here, but you'll see plant oils, like when people use like olive oil for cooking, is going to be a healthier alternative. Okay, so what's a whole grain? You're hearing a lot of talk about a whole grain. Well, what it is literally the whole grain. So when they make white bread, what they do is they strip this outer part of the grain, and what they're taking away is fiber, vitamins, and minerals, and those are essential to our diet. Super important. So making the switch to whole grain can be a slow process, but it's one that you should definitely make. Okay, so here's some ways to replace our refined grains and to start using some whole grains. And I like the options that we see on here. Okay, just a quick little review. When we look at calories provide us with 9 calories per gram, and protein and carbs are only providing us with 4 calories per gram. We can actually do the math to figure it out ourselves. So if we take 17 times 9, we're going to be pretty close to this calories from fat. Now, this is an old food label, but we understand how that works. So this is the same no matter what the food is. Does not matter. It's the same for every single item. So let's look at your own individual calorie needs right now. So what I'd like you to do is first identify if you're going to be on the left for male or right for female. Then do you fall under sedentary, moderately active, or active? You can look down here as a way to determine. You're going to have to be pretty active to be in this column right here, and then find your age, and you will find your recommended amount of calories. You wouldn't want to eat 2,400 calories if you only needed 1,800 a day, because unused calories become fat. So go ahead and pause the video if you need to and figure out your caloric needs. Okay, looking at that My Plate again. A lot of us don't eat foods every single day that are grouped into categories like this. You might have something like an omelet. If you're missing something from one meal, you can have it as a snack or maybe during the next meal. So it's not really expected that you eat like this for every single meal. Most of us don't do this. I absolutely love having these for breakfast. They're just made in muffin tins, but it's basically eggs and veggies. A lot of people are lacking in veggies for their breakfast food. So there are some really fun ways to get more veggies into your breakfast. Notice that half of your plate should be fruits and veggies, and that other items can be considered dairy, like a yogurt. It doesn't have to always be in the form of a drink like it looks like on this picture. Okay, so on your sheet, if you are following along, go ahead and plan out a meal. Here's one that I've made. You can see that sometimes you're going to have a combination. A tuna casserole can count as grain and protein. So quarantine is a great time to start a workout program if you're not already involved in one, or if your workout program or sport has been canceled, then still working out is an excellent idea. But if you're going to work out, you want to make sure that it counts. And one way to see that it counts is by checking your heart rate. Okay, so looking at this chart down here, you want to be in one of these target heart rate zones. Your resting heart rate is going to be down here, probably maybe even 60s, 70s beats per minute. And in order to get yourself into this target heart rate zone, you're going to have to be vigorously active. And we're talking for, at least 20 to 30 minutes, 5 times a week is recommended. So effective fat burning zone is yellow, intermediate aerobic is green, and then cardiovascular performance. You don't have to be in the red zone. I think people put a lot of pressure on themselves. Now, if you're going to compete in something, then maybe you do want to work out in that zone. And now, once again, we're just talking about cardio. We're not talking about flexibility or weightlifting. Those are other important factors to your physical fitness levels. So you want to be in these zones, and you can check that by taking your pulse. Or using a device. A lot of people have devices that they wear, fancy watches and stuff like that. Body fat. No one wants to be at 0% body fat. That's actually unhealthy. So go ahead and pause the video right now, and I want you to find your healthy zone. It's going to be in the green. Okay, so 15-year-old females, for example, are going to be at about 16 to 30% body fat. And a 15-year-old male is going to be at about 11 to 21%. So you can see that women are designed to have more body fat. There's lots of ways to check your body fat. Your doctor can do it. You can also get a digital scale that looks like this, and you would take it with your socks off, and it reads. You have to plug in all this information about yourself. We actually have these devices at school. Or you could do underwater body fat testing, which they do at universities and things like that in like kinesiology labs. Okay, so both of these men have very different physiques, but you can see that although they are only 10 pounds in weight difference, that this man is going to wear a smaller pant size, and his body composition is more muscular than this man. So sometimes BMI is misleading, and there isn't a magical weight for everybody. It just doesn't work that way. It depends on gender, it depends on your body composition, and things like that. So please don't think there's a magical weight just because you're 5'3". This is what 5 pounds of fat looks like next to 5 pounds of muscle. So fat will take up more space in a person's body. Okay, once again, there's not a magical weight. All of these women weigh 150 pounds, and that might be healthy for one of the women and not healthy for one of the other. So your general body size and the way that your body uses energy is partially under your control and partially not under your control. So you can't control genetics and metabolic disorders, but you can control your lifestyle, such as the food you eat and whether or not you exercise. You can actually increase your metabolic rate by building muscle mass and doing cardio. Don't want to forget that flexibility is important as well. That's not listed on here for metabolic rate, but it still is important to your overall fitness level. Okay, are you interested in having really nice abs? Well, doing 1,000 sit-ups is great. You're going to build up this layer of muscle right here, but it's not going to break down fat. So cardio is really the key to breaking down fat. Also, eating healthy. You can't just work out and then eat whatever you want. It just doesn't really work that way. So visceral fat is the fat that we're really concerned about that surrounds our organs. We do have a layer of subcutaneous fat that's healthy for us, stores vitamins, and is used for insulation, but we need to be concerned about the fat that surrounds our organs. You can definitely see the difference in these images up here. I'd like to point out that when some people work out, they might notice during their workout program that they actually start to gain weight. And that's not an uncommon phenomenon. So for example, I couldn't find a very good image to display this, but this girl looked like she just not was necessarily overweight to begin with, but wanted to become more toned. But you'll notice the key thing I want you to notice is that as she gained muscle and maybe lost, maybe changed a pant size, her weight actually went up. And so it's really important that you realize that that can happen when you start a workout program. Building muscle, as we saw, muscle is heavy, but it takes up a lot less room in our body. Okay, some diet and fitness myths that I think is important for us to go over. Thin always equals healthy. That is not true. Really, it's important for you to talk with your doctor about your fitness level to see if you fall in a good range or not. Thin might mean malnourished. It could be metabolic disorders and things like that. Losing 15 pounds in a week is healthy. That is not healthy. They recommend 1 to maybe 2 pounds a week as a healthy weight loss. Liquid and fad diets are acceptable. That's another thing to talk to your doctor about. Most of them are not healthy and should definitely be check up on, consider before starting any kind of diet like that. And then should you seek a doctor's advice? Yeah, if you want to lose weight and you want to it's really good to see your doctor for a checkup and make sure that, get some blood work done and things like that if you ever want to lose weight in your life. So that is a fact. You should go see the doctor. I want to recommend an app out there. It's MyFitnessPal, and it's a calorie tracker. Nowadays with smartphones, you can scan foods easily and see where you're at for the day for calories and nutrients and things like that. And quarantine is an excellent time to start tracking this since you have a little bit of extra time.